It's the Memphis Sports Network, WMC Memphis, WMFS HD2 Bartlett Memphis, WMFS FM and HD1 Bartlett, WMFS Memphis, ESPN 790 AM and 92.9 FM ESPN.
The views and opinions of the hosts or guests of the following program do not necessarily reflect those of the management or staff of Intercom Memphis.
Watch the sunrise, new day's dawning, and it's calling you and me. Where the mighty Mississippi flows by Memphis, Tennessee. We've got woodlands, fields, and water. Hey, there is no better way. You can find out all about it on Outdoors with Larry Ray. Make some time, take the family, ask a friend, but don't delay. Listen up and learn about it on Outdoors with Larry Ray. Listen up and learn about it on Outdoors with Larry Ray.
Good Saturday morning and welcome to another edition of the award-winning Outdoors with Larry Ray on ESPN 790 AM. Brought to you proudly by Tennessee Wildlife Resource Agency, Barton Power Sports, Sportsman's Warehouse, and Best Care Home Services. Now, here's your host, Larry Ray.
Hey, good Saturday morning. Welcome to Outdoors with Larry Ray on this Saturday, June the 17th. It is June the 17th, isn't it? Is that right? Am I way ahead? Is it?
No, it is June 17th.
You are correct.
It's just amazing. You know, what's tomorrow? Is tomorrow Father's Day? Have we already missed Father's Day?
That is correct.
Oh, okay. I just want to make sure everybody knew that out there. Because the next guy, we're going to jump. That was Frank Barton's voice. I don't need to tell you who that is. You know, he has the radio voice, and he's okay for the other part too. So
Thank you very much, Larry. Good morning, everybody.
there he goes. And of course, Greg Ratliff is back after subbing on the big shows. He's back to the little small fry guys here. Hey, we got to talk fishing right now, and who'd rather talk fishing about? Because I've had some people ask me. I was at the fishing rodeo this past Saturday. Had over 200 kids out at Johnson Road Park Lake, a great facility. Caught a lot of fish, not as many as we hoped for, but I had 2 or 3 people say, "Well, I talked to some little bitty kids, and they say I want to be a professional bass fisherman." So I said, well, who better to talk to about that than since I'm the PR man for him, he doesn't know it, but I am, from our good friend Mark Rose from West Memphis. So when a little kid comes up to you, Mark, and he says, I want to be just like you, Mark Rose, what does it take to get to be a professional fisherman?
Oh, I tell him, please don't do that.
No, come on.
I tell you, when I first got started, Larry, I would have said that. It was a big risk, and boy, it took a lot to really make it. But now anymore, if a young man or woman keeps his nose clean and has a good reputation and gets his education and he's pretty talented in the outdoors, you can make a good living at this sport now in all avenues, not just you can fish and still make a living in the professional outdoors arena.
Yeah.
And you can work at these lure companies, testing baits or be a product designer, or you can be in the television or media part of it and still do lots of fishing because you have to cover lots of events. So there's lots of different ways. If you're a technical guy, you can make a living at it. But on my end, for a professional fishing, doing the fishing part, there's a good living to be made. But I would tell them to, first of all, you need to know the man that made all the fish, and then you need to, get an education.
There you go.
Like I said, keep your nose clean. This industry's small. The outdoor
yes, it is.
Industry is a very small industry. although it's a multi-billion-dollar industry, it's still so if you do all the right things, there's a good living that can be made at it.
And again, we're talking to our good friend Mark Rose, fishing on the FLW tour. I know that Mark, you mentioned that education. To me, and Frank will agree with that education is so important. Now, maybe back 30 years ago, back in those days, we had some. I'm not saying they were great fishermen. Don't get me wrong, but it was almost like in the silent movie days. When some of those guys went into the talkies, they weren't the same as they were when they in the silent movies because either they didn't know how to talk or they just had the wrong kind of voice. But you guys do so much more than fishing, right?
Yeah, there's a big business side of fishing now. I feel like I own stock in every company that I represent, and
Yeah.
I try as best I can. Some products, are a little bit more difficult than any, but mostly, the ones that are on the fishing side especially, man, I try to be a walking, talking sales rep for them. And like I said, you have to have a bit of an education to be able to communicate effectively with people. You have to have good social skills, have to have, good math skills and all the. There's more to it than just fishing.
Yeah.
You have to represent these companies with everything you got, and you have to justify the reasoning for them to, invest money in you. So that comes with lots of different twists and turns, and you got to be able to know how to effectively do a little bit of all of them.
And I know that when you come down to it, I don't know how many. Let's just say in 1 year, how many tournaments will you fish in?
Anywhere from 14 to 18, depending on championships and qualifications and
Okay,
stuff like that.
all right. So that's 3 to 4 days times that number, 14. Now the rest of the year, you just sit
Well,
around.
you forget the practice days. I mean, there's
All right, practice
there's
day.
4 days involved
All right.
in practice.
Well, let's start. Hey, Mark, I'm going to interrupt here because you and I have had this conversation. Why don't you give Larry a typical week before the tournament and what you do?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's first of all it starts off, mine does with a morning devotion, and then I go and do some type of little exercise regimen in the morning, and then I'll go and if I need to go to the tackle store or whatever store, I'm always trying to find out if my products are in there that the companies are paying me for, if they're being represented good in that place. And then, of course, there's fishing every day. You have to go out and find the fish in the meantime. But fishing is the gut part of it. But then you have to, on your way home, it's stopping and getting something to eat, and then coming back in and checking emails, and because I may have an obligation that I got to do with a sponsor that they need me on a conference call or want to have a meeting or something. They need an email blast sent out, and so I have to keep up with my social media feeds, Facebook, Twitter, all that. I have to represent them there because that's in the contracts as well. So it's just fishing and business and social and all of that in a typical week's time.
Now this is really is this year 20 for you, or is it 19? What is it? I can't remember.
I started in '99.
Okay, so you're coming up to 20.
John Boat, you were there.
Yeah, you're coming up on 20 years, and so in 20 years, what's changed since you started?
Well, like you said, there was a lot of Bubba fishermen, what I called them, guys that you had to chew a pack and a half of Red Man, and you had to weigh about 400 pounds, and those were the guys that caught fish. Now it seems like there's more fit guys.
Yeah.
You have to have good stamina. The electronics, the advancements that's been made in electronics. When I started, I never caught a fish off the bank, and now I've won tournaments offshore, a whole lot of them. So the advancements in electronics and just all the different things on our boats and trolling motors, they're just so much better now, and a bass just doesn't have a chance anymore. But just the business end of fishing has grown leaps and bounds the way it was, and just lots of different things. It seems like it. Can't think of them all right now, but those are some that
they come
to
off.
mind off the top of my
When
head.
you think about, I buy a phone and it's obsolete when I walk out the door. You ever tried to get an appointment at Apple Store? I mean, come on.
Right.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like getting an appointment with a
That's the same way
doctor.
with electronics. If you get a Garmin 7610 one year, you got to have a 12-inch
That's right.
next year.
Yeah.
And then the 15 the year after that. And before you know it, we're going to have plasma screens on the front and back of these things, and it's going to show you where every fish in the lake is, and you don't have to practice.
Oh, well, I'm all for that, because I know practice makes perfect. And again, we're talking to our good friend Mark Rose from West Memphis, Arkansas. And I know, Mark, that the grueling part of this is the travel. Your family's very important to you. Your faith is very important to you. So this is a time away from family and things like that. A lot of these guys are able to take their family with you. Of course, you got girls in school and things along that line. It's also a life on the road, isn't it?
It is. And yes, the travel is the worst part of what I do. And then on the flip side of that, it's the best part of what I do because I can provide my family opportunities to do things. When we go to the Potomac River, my girls can fly up there and they can tour the nation's capital area and just see things and all the tradition with, where George Washington used to live, Mount Vernon being right here on the river. They can see things that they normally wouldn't get to see. They can travel. They can watch my work ethic out on the road of there's a typical businessman in America that goes to work 8 to 5, and then there's lots of guys that make good livings that don't have that schedule, but they're still out there working, and they get to see more of the marketing, promotional, sales side of things. So it allows them a lot of and in the wintertime, Thanksgiving and Christmas are some of the meaning of those holidays.
Because you're home.
It's just some of my favorite. And I'm right there 24/7 with them every single day. And we like to hunt, we like to fish, in the wintertime. So it allows us a lot of good time at home. I credit anybody that travels a whole lot that when you have time, you're there at home 100% with your family, and so it all equals out, Larry.
Well, Mark, we appreciate you, buddy, taking time on this Saturday morning. We like to stay in touch with you. I don't believe in luck. Just go out there and rub that red head and go on, okay? All right, buddy.
All right. I'll try. It's always a pleasure, Larry. Good talking to you, Frank. Everybody in the Mid-South. Love y'all. Take care.
All right. Thanks, Mark Rose. All right, let's take a break on Outdoors with Larry Ray. Ray Barton in the studio, and we're going to talk a little bit about a new facility that he's got just up the street from us on Outdoors with Larry Ray on ESPN 790.
You can find out